Nigel Farage is campaigning in Kent today. Our UKIP campaign correspondent Danny Savage has been speaking to the UKIP leader at Broadstairs.
Well, Nigel Farage is out knocking on doors in Kent this morning as part of the UKIP campaign. He's knocked on a few already, had a pretty favourable response from the people he's spoken to. I suppose it's an obvious point that people might be thinking is, are you knocking on favoured doors rather than people who you don't know?
No, we're after everybody. I mean, we were out last night and we had some people that loved us and some who, in quite straightforward language, told us they weren't going to support us. No, but that's politics.
And do you try and persuade them otherwise, or do you just go, well, you've made your mind up and that's it?
If somebody's really, really opposed to you, there's really not very much point. And actually they're going to get rather frustrated with you on their doorstep. But what I've noticed, a huge number of people who are undecided, and don't forget 40% of the country doesn't vote in elections, and in many ways as UKIP that's one of the most interesting conversations. We reckon in this part of the country that between 1 in 4 and maybe as high as 1 in 3 of our voters will be people who did not vote in 2010. So these conversations are actually very, very important.
How important is it for the party leader to be out there knocking on doors at grassroots level?
Well, perhaps some would say that this is not the way party leaders behave, but I mean, I've been an activist in this party for 20 years. I've always done it, and personally, I think that in modern politics we underestimate the power of going around knocking on doors. We saw the Liberal Democrats in the 1990s sort of treble their size in Parliament, and they did it with old-fashioned pavement politics.
Polls indicating a slight dip potentially for UKIP at the moment. I mean, how much attention do you pay to that?
Well, actually, the polls are... I mean, this week's average of polls is higher than last week's average of polls. So there's been a firming since the first leaders' debate. But you know something? I'm not sure I take these polls very seriously. They're all over the shop. And are people giving honest opinions? We've got, was it 27 days, I think, now to go until polling day. I think it's a very volatile situation.
Just finally, issue of the day appears to be the NHS.
Yes.
The Tories pledging that they will find this £8 billion. The Lib Dems doing the same. Your thoughts on the NHS? You're saying £3 billion.
Well, we have said £3 billion without adding to borrowing, because that £3 billion would come from our contributions to the European Union not being there anymore. I just find that every day I wake up and I put on my telly and I see another unfunded pledge made by one party or another. It's almost as if the election campaigns become a sort of game of poker. You know, give me your number and I'll raise you. Frankly, if the NHS needs another £8 billion running up to 2020, I'm guessing the reason is that if we continue with open door immigration at the numbers that it is, we'll need more money. But it's completely unfunded.
And you still stand by that thought that if you can afford to go private, you should go private?
Well, this is only relevant to a very small percentage of the population, but those that are better off in Britain would be doing us all a favour if they took out insurance and took some of the burden off the health service. But the real problem is the population of this country has risen so rapidly because of open door immigration, and we frankly haven't got the GPs or the A&E facilities to keep up with it.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much. I'll let you go and continue knocking on doors, and he's continuing to do that in Kent today.